Today we're taking a look at the latest trade talk around the NHL. It does seem like there's a lot happening in Calgary. We might soon see the team start a major retool and roster reset, which could include more players than just their pending UFAs. Other names like Nazem Kadri, Jonathan Huberdeau. Do they want to be part of a rebuild? We'll discuss that scenario. Plus, there's also further updates to seal what we talked about yesterday, that the Leafs are heavily involved with the Flames on a trade involving one or multiple defensemen. We also have some other updates around the league regarding potential location for a future Winter Classic. Lots of injury updates and news from the waiver wire. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot to cover here today. First, before we get into some of the trade talk, we do have a lot of other NHL news and notes from around the league. First up, we do have news from the NHL waiver wire. The Columbus Blue Jackets today have placed Swedish forward Emil Bemstrom on waivers. So far this year, he's appeared in 12 games, putting up 3 goals and 1 assist. So if he clears, he will be reassigned to their AHL affiliate. And of course, we'll find out at 2 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow if indeed he clears or if he's been picked up by another NHL franchise. Tonight, of course, is the return of Bo Horvat to Vancouver, making his first appearance against his former club in Vancouver with the New York Islanders. Of course, Horvat was a longtime Canuck, longtime captain, traded last year after not coming to terms on a contract extension. And I see a lot of talk on social media whether or not they're going to applaud him and give him some cheers for everything he did for the organization over the years, or whether or not he's going to be booed. And to be honest, I take the stance that every fan can kind of do what they want. I think booing is totally fine if you really feel that that's what you want to do. But keep in mind, Bo Horvat went through a lot of tough times with the Vancouver Canucks. He was the captain. He took a lot of the responsibility during some tough, lean years. He had some great performances and really gave it his all in Vancouver. I think that's definitely fair to say. And he didn't leave because he wanted to. He left because the Canucks would not pay him. They chose to prioritize JT Miller and Kuzmenko, and there was no money left to sign Horvat, who was having a career season. And yes, many people will, retreat to the fact that he has not put up the same numbers in the Islanders organization as he was in that career year when he was traded last year, which I get. He was obviously playing for a contract. We do see that happen a lot. Was he, going to end up getting a little bit overpaid? Maybe, but regardless of that, he probably would have taken a little bit less than he did with the Islanders to stay with the Canucks. At least I think he would have anyways. But at the end of the day, just remember all the good he brought. If you want to boo the fact that he's on an opposing team, that's fine. At the very least, give him some cheers when you do the video tribute. Welcome him home. I know he made a comment about between Canucks and do you like the Islanders fans better or something like that. You got to remember, is he going to talk in front of the New York Islander fans and say, oh yeah, Vancouver was better than here? They're not going to say that. He's just trying to get the crowd riled up. He certainly didn't really think anything bad of Vancouver fans, so I just hope you give the man his due respect. If you need to boo because you think that's what you need to do, have at it. It's your choice, free country. But I just think at the same time, I hope you give him his respect and appreciate what he did during his tenure there. Lots of other news from around the league, including Vancouver as well. Defenseman Carson Soucy is injured, going to be out. Could be significant. Look, it could be a few weeks. Right now, he's listed as week to week, which is why they called up Akito Hirose yesterday. So we'll see on the absence of Soucy how much impact that has to their blue line. I think the Vancouver Canucks, the whole team really, especially the blue line, has certainly, I think, fared better than a lot of people expected this year. So one injury shouldn't derail everything, but at the same time, sometimes you take one piece of the puzzle and it can impact how others play around him. So we'll see how they do here in his absence. The Oilers today placed Dylan Holloway and Matthias Janmark both on long-term injured reserve. Unfortunately, Holloway did suffer a fairly serious injury the other night. He was actually starting to play a lot better, which is unfortunate. But he's suffered some bad fate in that regard. So Janmark and Holloway will be out for at least 28 days or 10 games from the date of their injuries. The Sabres also lost top centerman Tage Thompson. It was a weird night in Buffalo, to be completely honest. They were playing the Boston Bruins, and for some reason, they actually sang the Canadian national anthem, which I guess Buffalo sometimes feels like it's almost part of Canada because it's so darn close. It's right there by the Niagara Falls. You can't really get any closer to crossing the border than you can with Buffalo when it comes to border cities like that. I've been to Niagara Falls on both sides, especially the Canadian side, multiple times, and you can see Buffalo right across there. It's not far at all. So I understand there's lots of Canadian people go back and forth, whatnot, but still, typically when there's no Canadian team in the NHL involved in the game, they do not sing the Canadian national anthem. So I was confused why they were even singing it in the first place. And then the singer completely butchered it, screwed up the lyrics, which is not something you typically see in the NHL. So it's just a really weird start to the hockey game. And then Tage Thompson, unfortunately, got injured on multiple occasions. The first one was a bit of an awkward trip. He did end up coming back, but then he ended up playing on the PK and blocked a shot. I got it right in the wrist area, and they're saying he's going to miss significant time. I don't know the exact injury, I don't know if it's a broken wrist or if there's any kind of break or fracture, but either way, it's not good. He's going to be out long term. For a team in Buffalo that's already gotten off to a slower start than they would have liked, losing their top centerman, who's a big part of the offense, is not going to help. Combine that with the fact that Devin Levi, who was expected to come in, and which is probably not fair, but he was expected to be the starting goaltender, I think. I mean, with what Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's doing, he at the very least was expected to do that. But Levi was amazing in college, but you never see college goalies or junior goalies, for that matter, go straight to the NHL with no minor league time and be amazing. It just doesn't happen. I don't care how good they are in junior or college. It's never, you never see it. And Levi, I don't know if they thought he could be the exception to the rule. Talented guy. I think long term, he still has an incredibly bright future. The fact that he's played, I think, what is he at? 7 games this season, and has had a slow start. I don't think that means he's going to bust by any means. I hope nobody's thinking that. But so far in 7 games this year, he has an .881 save percentage, which is not good. And he played the first bunch of games for the Sabres. They clearly wanted to let him take the ball and try to run with it. Didn't happen. Eric Comrie got hurt. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has been their most consistent goaltender. So I suspect he's going to have an ample opportunity here, especially with Comrie being injured, to run with it. In my opinion, Levi really should be in the American Hockey League. It's hard to work on things in the NHL. It's not a development league. So I think he should be going down. But the problem is with Comrie's injury kind of complicates things. I'm not sure what other options they have here, but at some point we're going to see Levi go to the American League. I think it just has to happen. It is the right thing for his development. So we'll see, but the Sabres are going to be in tough with Levi not being the exception to the rule and being amazing out of the gate here, and then the Thompson injury on top of that. I'm sure the Sabres are not pleased with where everything is in that front. Unfortunately for the Maple Leafs, John Klingberg's not going to be able to play at least one of the games on their trip to Sweden. They're getting ready to get started with those games starting tomorrow. But Klingberg's going to miss at least one of the two due to injury. He may play in the second one. It's not quite known here as of yet. Detroit also didn't have goaltender Ville Husso travel with the team. He stayed back in Detroit because his wife was ready to give birth. I believe she's already done so now. I believe they have their baby already delivered, which is good to see. I seen a post on from the Detroit social media account. But unfortunately, Husso's not going to be there. So they're going to have James Reimer play at least one game. Lyon may play the other, or Reimer may play both. We'll have to see what the coaches decide in that front. And of course, with Ottawa, we don't know about Zub yet. He's going to continue to see where he is day to day. Shabbat was skating today for the first time since he broke his hand. Not ready to return yet. He's still wearing a non-contact jersey. I don't expect him to play in the Sweden games at all. But probably within a week or within a week or two after they get back would be likely when he returns. At least that's what, unless he's ahead of schedule, which I haven't heard that here as of yet. There were some NHL league people checking out potential locations for the either the next or future Winter Classic, and that's Ohio Stadium in Ohio State. So we might see the Columbus Blue Jackets be involved in a Winter Classic game. So I know it's one of the locations that they've been scouting, and we'll see. I know that was talked about on TSN Insider Trading with Darren Dreger. So it'll be one of the areas to keep an eye on for the next Winter Classic, or maybe the one after, depending on how everything goes in that front. Now, on Patrick Kane, the latest rumors on him, Of course, he is meeting with teams. He and his agent, Pat Brisson, they did meet with the Leafs. We know that much. We know the Rangers are out. According to Larry Brooks of the New York Post, the Kane is not going to be involved with the New York Rangers this time around. Dallas, Buffalo, Detroit, or other teams has been mentioned. And I seen from NHL Insider, I think it was Elliot Friedman talking about keeping a close eye on Tampa. Tampa might be a team to watch here. Now, they probably, like a lot of teams, can't afford to pay him a ton of money. Florida's another team to watch, as we talked about before. We know that Bill Zito's been in heavy pursuit of Kane, but their state rival in Tampa also in on the mix, and hard to say where things go. It's believed that he's going to meet with about 8 teams, or has met with some already, and right now it's trending towards a decision being made sometime next week, so we'll see where that goes. On that front, of course, yesterday we talked about a big potential trade between the Flames and the Leafs regarding at least one, if not multiple, defensemen. And Jeff Merrick was Sportsnet, NHL Insider, was on the Toronto radio programming this morning and kind of reiterated and doubled down on the fact that his intel says that the Brad Treliving and the Maple Leafs are in very much hardcore in on the Leafs, on the Flames defense that are available by trade between Hanifin, Tanev, Zadorov, most notably the final 2. Hanifin, I don't know, would go to Toronto, but they are heavily involved in that, and Treliving would love to land both. Hard to say exactly what the package would look like. Some think it's going to be Nick Abruzzese being one of the main prospects going because of his connection to Matt Coronado, former college teammates who were not only teammates but line mates and played very well together, as well as probably at least one defenseman. Maybe Liljegren could be involved. Could be. Some people think Brody, others don't, because Brody has obviously a form of no trade protection. I don't know if he'd want to do that. And to be honest, I don't know if they really should, to be honest. But whether it be Klingberg, Liljegren, Abruzzese, maybe a Peck, maybe Fraser Minton, hard to say. Like some combination of that would be what's expected to be involved, should they be able to land both defensemen. But bigger than that, a lot of NHL insiders through TSN and Sportsnet especially talking about the fact that it's not just the pending UFAs to watch here. I know last night on TSN's Insider Trading, they were talking a bit about how it's not just those guys, looking at guys like, Condry as well. According to Pierre LeBrun, Nazem Kadri is quite content to stay in Calgary. He signed there long term to win there, but if they end up going into a deeper rebuild, that's not something he's interested in. So depending on the direction of the team, Kadri very well could be the next player to ask for a trade and want out. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I think he's going to, for right now, take the wait and see approach, see what kind of returns they're getting on some of these players. If it turns out to be more of a rebuild than a retool, though, all bets are off, and then we're going to likely start seeing more movement and interest, and probably some trades involving some players that are have longer term deals, not just depending unrestricted free agents. Like, I've seen Boston Hockey Now reporters wondering about the Bruins' interest in Noah Hanifin. They've been after Hanifin since his draft. They tried to move up to draft him, didn't happen. Of course, he's from the area with Boston College, and the whole organization has been salivating over the idea of getting Hanifin on their team for a long time. When he was traded out of Carolina, they were in on that deal, ended up going to Calgary instead. So certainly the Bruins are a team to watch when it comes to Hanifin. I mean, they're doing so well right now, they may decide not to mess with anything. And if Hanifin is traded but doesn't sign an extension right away, they might be able to talk to him as a UFA in the offseason for next year. So they may take that approach instead. Elias Lindholm, of course, is another name to watch. And like I said, between those two and Tanev and Zadorov, they're the main UFAs to watch. And then you get the Kadri situation. Like I said, he's not wanting to go through a rebuild. Then there's Jonathan Huberdeau. What do you do with Huberdeau? I've seen Montreal media talking about a potential trade that this wasn't rumored through NHL sources saying that they were discussing it. It was just more like Habs media suggesting it. Talking about Jonathan Huberdeau going to Montreal for Josh Anderson and Brendan Gallagher. There'll probably be some other combination of picks or prospects or something else involved there. But from a money perspective, it works. I mean, Jonathan Huberdeau in Calgary has not worked out. They're paying him a ton of money. Would the Montreal Canadiens have interest to bring him home? I mean, clearly he's a Quebec-born player. There was a lot of interest and rumors before he signed the extension in Calgary that Montreal might be a place he wants to go if he didn't want to stay in Calgary. I don't know how everybody feels about that now. Obviously, he's played on like 3 different lines in Calgary, various line mates. Nothing's working. You can't seem to get his mojo back. Can't seem to find his game. I don't know what's going on with Jonathan Huberdeau. I don't know that Brendan Gallagher and Josh Anderson are really going to help Calgary any better. I mean, yeah, you could say you'd be unloading a contract for 2 other contracts that are shorter terms. They would both be expired long before Huberdeau. But are they going to, be useful for a rebuild? I mean, they've kind of been through it in Montreal so far. It's difficult to say. I don't know that the trade really benefits the Flames in that sense. I think Huberdeau is the best player of those 3. And they might be better off to keep him and to try to find a way to make it work. But we know Montreal fans, even though he's had a downtime in Calgary, a lot of them still absolutely love this player and would love to see him come to the Canadiens. So clearly, if they're going to do something like that, they'd have to have a lot of money come off the books. That contracts for these players would get it done. But again, does Jonathan Huberdeau make sense for the Montreal Canadiens? They would be taking 2 older, Gallagher's a bit older than Anderson, but obviously they have a lot of good young talent. 2 of their older players, moving him out for another player who's also older and making, has more term and money left on his contract. I don't know that the Canadiens would go there. Trading Jonathan Huberdeau would be extremely complicated. And I don't know that Ken Hughes of the Canadiens and Jeff Gorton would really have that level of interest. I mean, I think they'd be interested in moving off of those 2 contracts in Gallagher and Anderson, but to bring back another monster one in that regard, they'd have to be so confident that it would work for him and he could get his career back on track that it could be an awesome acquisition or it could be an absolute disaster and really tie up more cap longer than what they have on these 2. If they just don't do anything, and even if they have to keep those 2 players until they expire, it still would have more cap space available to them at an earlier time frame. So tricky. I don't know. I mean, that's one deal I've seen talked about a lot through Montreal media. I don't really see it as being something that could happen, but I can see the idea that the Flames will at the very least explore the possibility of moving Huberdeau, and it's going to be complicated. It's going to be tough. Kadri could be in that mix, Hanifin, Lindholm, Tanev, Zadorov. It could be just the opening of the floodgates as we see, and it could set off a major roster reset and major change with the Calgary Flames organization throughout the next few months leading up to the NHL trade deadline in March. So let me know what your thoughts are on all potential Flames moves, what you see happening, how deep of a rebuild or reset are they going to be taking here, and where do some of these players make sense for them to end up? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.